House. Third motion, Senator Byrne.
Gurmagad Kahiri, agus Gurmagad is in Desh, Hortum, and Tora, Anahauta Shaw, Ordu, Aaron Tussu, and of Seanad. I'm delighted to be able to get the chance to raise this issue in the Seanad today, but it has to be said that the people of North Meath, and I presume people all across the country, are hopping mad with the government at the moment. There are planning permissions going in some cases being approved, left, right and centre, on old and what previous ministers who have appeared before this House have said are outdated guidelines. That's completely wrong, Minister, and I thought that we had moved away from that type of planning system. There's a planning application now with An Bord Pleanála for 6 turbines in Nobber County Meath. It was refused by Meath County Council. There was also an application gone in under the Strategic Infrastructure Act all across North Meath as well, the Element Power proposal. And it seems that by the delay in the government issuing revised guidelines, that these firms appear to be trying to take advantage of a gap there, using outdated guidelines, and the government appears to be facilitating that. That is completely and utterly wrong. And it's about time the government issued new guidelines, and guidelines that will be acceptable to the majority of people and acceptable to people who would otherwise have to put up with these monstrosities beside them. We're embarking on a whole new ball game here with supersized turbines that haven't been seen before in this country, and the public are not accepting it. I think the government should really just say no, stop the planning applications, and it is within the power of the Minister to do that. Stop these applications going in. We're thinking about this. We cannot leave this blot on the landscape in our country, in some of our nicest, potentially lucrative tourism areas, without actually looking at what guidelines, what rules, what regulations we're setting down. The choice is, Minister, do we have a proper planning system in relation to turbines, or do we not?
Thank you, Cathaoirleach. First of all, I'm taking this commencement matter on behalf of Minister Kelly, and I would like to thank the Senator for raising this particular issue. Senator, proposals for wind energy developments are subject to the statutory requirements of the Planning and Development Act 2000 as amended, in the same manner as other proposed developments. Planning applications are made to the relevant local planning authority with a right of appeal to An Bord Pleanála. In the case of wind development proposals which meet the statutory threshold criteria for classification as strategic infrastructure developments under the Planning and Development Acts, such applications must be submitted directly to An Bord Pleanála. Planning authorities, including An Bord Pleanála, are required to have regard to my department's wind energy development guidelines, which were published in June 2006 in making determinations on wind farm development proposals. These guidelines provide advice to planning authorities on catering for wind energy through the development plan and development management processes. The guidelines are also intended to ensure a consistency of approach throughout the country in the identification of suitable locations for wind energy development and the treatment of planning applications for such developments. In December 2013, my department published proposed draft revisions to the noise setbacks and shadow flicker aspects of the 2006 Wind Energy Development Guidelines. These draft revisions proposed the setting of a more stringent day and night noise limit of 40 decibels for future wind energy developments, a mandatory minimum setback of 500 metres between a wind turbine and the nearest dwelling for amenity considerations, and the complete elimination of shadow flicker between wind turbines and neighbouring dwellings. A public consultation process was initiated on these proposed draft revisions to the guidelines, which ran until February 21, 2014. My department received submissions from 7,500 organisations and members of the public during this public consultation process. It is intended that the revisions to the 2006 Wind Energy Development Guidelines will be finalised as soon as possible. In this regard, account has to be taken of the extensive response to the public consultation in framing the final guidelines. Further work is also advancing to develop technical appendices to assist planning authorities with the practical application of the noise measurement aspects of the wind guidelines. The revisions to the Wind Energy Development Guidelines 2006, when finalised, will be issued under Section 28 of the Planning and Development Act 2000 as amended. In the interim, the 2006 guidelines will continue to apply to existing planning applications. It is a matter for the relevant planning authority to make the appropriate determination in relation to a planning application or appeal, having regard to relevant planning guidelines issued by my department. However, as indicated, These guidelines are issued for guidance purposes to assist planning authorities in the performance of their functions. Ultimately, planning authorities, be they local planning authorities or indeed on board Pleanála, will make their own decision based on the specific merits or otherwise of the individual planning applications. Thank you,
Question, Senator.
See, once again, although the Minister doesn't state it explicitly, but the previous Minister did, the blame is being put on the amount of submissions received, and this is causing a delay. What's happening is that the message has been sent to Bord Pleanála, in particular, that this is not a major issue of importance for the government, because there doesn't seem to be any effort on the government's part to regulate this area, to update the regulations. But on the other side, Minister, there's a mad rush to get planning applications in. And we've seen that, and we continue to see that. And you must see that as Minister. Why is the department so slow, and yet the industry is so quick? That's what's going on at the moment. Minister, in my view, it would be well within the Minister of the Environment entitlement under Section 28 to issue a guideline to county councils and on Bord Pleanála to ask them to stop applications for the moment until guidelines are put through. That would be a reasonable compromise between everyone, that there would be no planning decisions made during this process. Now, we've asked for this on numerous occasions, but there's no doubt that the guidelines could be issued in that regard under Section 28, and that should be looked at, because it's not fair. A young couple trying to build a house in some of these areas are put through the mill in terms of all of the rules and regulations that they have to comply with. How some people would wish that for young families trying to build a house in rural Ireland, that maybe there would be some gap in regulations for them, but there's not. There's the strictest of regulations applicable to them, and that's not the case with the wind turbines. And don't get me wrong, as I'm sure the Minister will see from the submissions that have been put in, what the Minister proposes does not go far enough. What the previous Minister proposed does not go far enough. And certainly when these finalised guidelines come out, they're going to have to go much further. But in the meantime, Minister, it is well within your gift and Minister Kelly's gift just to stop applications while this is